Yeah, great.
Whoa, this ain't going.
Be down the side. And
But I appreciate everybody on the chat tonight for your comments. Well, welcome back to another good Thursday, and we're here at the Bee Connection, and let's talk about bees. I tell you what, it is busy. So, unlike Mr. Keith Spillman over here, I still have not got my honey off yet. So, anyway, we can talk about that a little bit later on in the episode. But did have some robin this afternoon and some of the little nukes, which was very, very surprising because, again, our honey flow had just started, and I believe the rain has officially washed it all away. So, yep, no more honey here until the basswood and the sourwood starts. And hopefully Mr. Spillman will give me a little update on that, how it looks down there in his area. And I did buy me a stock trailer over the weekend. And I hope to revamp that, and I'm going to use it as an out yard, and I'm going to put where I want to, and hopefully have some big colonies off the mountain, maybe in Keith's yard, so that next year I can get a lot of honey. So
no doubt, yeah, keep your hives down over at his house.
that's what I'm thinking. I think everybody wants to do
it's
that.
Either that or Keith, he's just like harvesting one frame at a time. He's like, oh, I'm harvesting again. Oh, I'm harvesting again. And it's really just one frame. Every time he posts that, it's just one frame. That's all he's doing.
That's all it is, yeah. So
gotta make it last.
Yeah,
absolutely, 100%. So been selling quite a few queens here lately. I do, if you notice the pinned comment above, we had a lot of people that have donated nukes to us, and I'll repeat this a little bit later in the show, but I do thank everybody for your contributions, whether it be money or nukes to the people in this area. Hope to meet up with JW and Matt on Saturday at about 10 o'clock, somewhere thereabouts. And run back to Ashe County on Saturday at 5 o'clock and drop all these bees off to people that needs them. So very excited. Yep. Everybody on here, we thank you very, very much for that. So anyway, that's what's going on in my area. So let's pass that on over to Mr. Spillman Honeyman, and we'll see how everything's going. So
he's the sweetest guy on the chat tonight.
There you go.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been a busier week than I'd really planned on. What prompted me to get in my hives was I went down to help one of the folks that that I'm a mentor for, and he wanted to. I think I might have mentioned him last time I was here. He was determined he wanted to pull some honey and do an inspection in his brood area, which we really hadn't been down in since probably towards the end of March, because I was doing his hives pretty much like I'm doing mine. So we went down and we pulled 7 supers of honey off his hives and got that to the shop. And then we went out and looked at his hives, and they were almost honey bound. A lot of honey down in the brood area, and we got that all straightened out. But that prompted me to want to go and check my hives out, because I hadn't been down in the brood area of them, since middle of March. So I went out and started pulling supers to get to the brood area, and I'm like, oh Lord, the supers are full again. And I really wasn't expecting it. They after the tulip poplar kind of fizzled, the bees started kind of hanging around on the landing board and on the front of the hives. You know how they do when they're bored, when the flow goes away. And but they did that for a few days, and then man, they took off again. I don't know what they found. It looks like tulip poplar. It tastes like tulip poplar, but it's not. The tulip poplars, that's gone. So I don't know what they got into, but yeah, I pulled I think it was 23 supers, and I extracted the honey today, and yeah, I got lots of buckets. So
teach me, oh wise master, teach me.
But but I did have a lot of honey in the brood area. You know, I had to call that out some. You know, they were squeezing the queen down to where she didn't have as much room to lay as I wanted her to. So got rid of some of that. Still left them plenty. So they're in good shape. But yeah, the ladies just keep amazing me. I don't know what they found. You know, right now we've got probably some sumac blooming, but mainly some mimosa, crepe myrtles, which I don't know how much they get off of crepe myrtles. It seems like they like some better than others, some colors. I'm not sure the rhyme or reason to that. Persimmons blooming. There's I think it's called a Chinese chestnut. I'm not sure. I'm not sure how much to get off of that. And the sourwoods down here are wide open, all up and down 421, heading up towards your way, Ricky. The sides of the highway are just loaded with sourwood, but we don't get any much nectar, you know, down here 1,000 feet or, you know, a little bit lower. I'm sure they get something off of it, but it's not really. I don't really consider the sourwood flow down here. You know, you gotta get some altitude to get that.
So are they bloomed out when you say that, or are they just looking like they're about to? They are bloomed out already?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the sourwoods are blooming.
I'm so late.
They're along 421, it's covered. So them and a lot of mimosas along the highway. So but anyway, yeah, we pulled honey, we extracted honey, we got honey. So I'm going to be doing farmers markets pretty much the rest of my life.
I feel that.
That'll be my second retirement, will be farmers markets. So but now I'm already talking to the mead maker up in the mountains. I got to take him some samples next week, and a fella down east that's wanting to buy some volume. So yeah, it won't all go through the farmers markets. So we'll have another outlet for it. So, but that's what we've been up to. No complaints. Just a lot of sweat. Lord, it's been down here. Next week's going to be terrible. High 90s every day.
That's what we are this week.
Yeah, that's what we are next week.
Yep. You're welcome.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. Well, this week it's been thunderstorms every afternoon and night.
Yep. That's what that was the end of our week last week.
Yeah, we get like our nightly half inch of rain, you know. So yeah, that's another surprise. You know, as much rain as we had, you know, where's this nectar coming from? It looks like you'd be knocking it out of the trees and bushes. So I don't know where they're getting it. So, but anyway, what you been up to, Melissa?
Not being in pain anymore, which has been fabulous.
Yay!
I appreciate everybody's prayers. But actually this week, Tom's been in the bee yards all week. Just doing all week. I don't know what he does out there. Doing splits, doing combines, making the nukes to get to Ricky this weekend. But we are actually speaking at the Missouri State Conference this weekend.
He's back.
You're feeling better. That's what happens.
I know. No, so we're speaking at the Missouri State Conference this weekend. And before they had asked us to speak for that, I had already signed up for a market. And then last week, somebody else called me about another market that's happening this weekend. That's a barbecue and bluegrass festival here about 10 minutes in town from where we are. And it's like, yeah, we'd really like to have you guys. I'm like, well, this is my situation. We're going to be out of town, and our boys already have a market to do on Saturday. So let me talk to them. And if they're interested in splitting apart and one doing this market and one doing this market, then that's fine. We'll do it. So they're like, yeah, we'll do it. And we pay them like 25% of whatever they sell. So there's a good incentive there. And both these are really good. Or the one is a really good market. The other one we've not done, the Bluegrass Festival we've not done before. So this week I've basically been prepping everything for these boys to take for. So basically I've been prepping for 2 separate markets all week. So that's been my week. Filling bottles, labeling everything, making sure the price sheets are right, prepping everything, making 2 separate piles. Okay, Isaac, this is your pile. Andrew, this is your pile.
Basically, what she just said is blah, blah, blah. This is boring stuff.
Let's go play the bees, right, Tom?
I would rather go out in the bee yard with no protection on and get stung in the face than go to these markets and sit there all day.
Oh my gosh. I did actually, though, go out in our home yard with Tom this afternoon and video. We did a video on Michael Mahar's frames. So we put some of those in the hive. So here next week, we'll have to do a follow-up and so I can get that out.
You also did a little video about the division boards or something. Was that right? Or
oh, the double screw. So funny thing about that is I actually posted that video like 2 or 3 weeks ago. And I'm like, why isn't this getting any views? Like no views. And I'm like, so I look at it to like, maybe I forgot to put hashtags in it or, did something. I had it set to private.
Oh my goodness.
It must have like defaulted to private or something. So I changed that. I'm like, oh, look, now people can see it. Yeah, because I think I had actually posted that before I had my surgery, that video. So that was like 3 weeks ago or so.
Wow.
Oops.
Yeah.
Oops.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
And then, there was another, the video I posted after that. It's like, why isn't this good? It was the same thing. Like it defaulted to private for some weird reason. I don't know. But
so if it's private, who can see it?
Nobody, unless we send them the link.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you just send somebody the link if they had a couple views.
Now, did y'all see that short that I did of the guy surfing on the lake? So there's on Father's Day, I posted that on Sunday.
I'll have to see that one. That'll be pretty interesting, I bet.
Yeah. Well, because JW's always given us trouble about being down at the lake and not working. I'm like, well, I'll post him a video of Tom playing around on the lake.
She said she made a video, and I'm like, oh, okay, whatever. And she said she posted. I figured maybe she posted it to Messenger to somebody, or maybe put it on Facebook or something. But no, she put it on YouTube. I'm like, I don't know what this has to do with beekeeping, but whatever.
Absolutely nothing at all.
So Brian's asking about your market there, Keith, man. How's that going for you?
Yeah, and I didn't have a market today. The last market I had one Tuesday and one Wednesday and another one on Saturday. So Tuesday and Wednesday went great. No complaints. It was just hot. Had a big thunderstorm roll through late in the market on Wednesday, but thankfully folks were watching the weather, so they all came out early. So that didn't hurt too bad. I did. I started to say make a mistake of trying this. I did 2 markets in one day. I can't remember if it was last week or week before last. Yeah, I don't need to do that. 2 markets in one day. Now, some of y'all go to markets that are long anyway. A lot of my markets aren't but 3 hours long. And but when that was last week, Brian.
And then he went and harvested another 13,000 pounds.
Yeah. So but yeah, I did 2 markets, so I had to be nice for 3 hours, 2 separate times in the same day, and that was tough. That was tough. I was just all grinned out by the end of the day. I'm not going to do that anymore. 1 market a day, about 3 or 4 hours. That's it for me.
Yeah, we did that. Was that last year or the year before? It was the year before we did that. It was the one down in Labadee. And then that afternoon, we also had the rodeo, which the rodeo is a Friday and Saturday thing. So we had to do the rodeo or do the market down in Labadee, and they overlapped by like an hour. So one of us had to stay there while the other one ran to the other one. And luckily that one was already, the rodeo one was already set up from Friday night. We just had to get there. And they're only like 15 minutes apart. It's not like it's far away from each other.
That's
so
tough.
we did that once. So
Yeah.
being at market all night takes a lot out of you.
I heard Philip's comment there. I heard Nancy when she said that, and I thought that was pretty funny. We don't do that. I mean, next week it's going to be 97, 98 degrees, and they won't cancel the markets.
Most of the markets we go to are even like rain or shine. Like it doesn't matter. There could be a
Yeah.
tornado bearing down on you. Like, nope, we're having this market.
Yeah.
Bring your weights for your tent.
Yeah. Yesterday when that storm blew up, I thought I had my tent tied down pretty good to the truck, but apparently Mother Nature thought different, and it tried to take off on me there once. I've got to make a couple of modifications to my tie down scheme, but yeah, we won't cancel markets on the count of the heat. Just take more water.
Bring a fan.
Yeah.
Tough it out.
Yeah, we Tom brings landscape stones and gets a tie down strap and ties it from the top down to the landscape stone on each leg of our canopy tent, whatever you want to call it.
If we have ever had them before in like a field type area or a grass area, I'll take those large pins that you might use for holding concrete forms in. We use those all the time for running string lines, for building walls and all kinds of stuff. So we have a whole bunch of them. So if that's the case, and I know it's going to be set up for a while, I'll actually drive these pins with a mallet down in there and tie it off really good. There was last year when we were at the rodeo, there was a storm that blew in, so and I'm like, this thing is not going anywhere. I had those pins driven down probably 16 inches down into the soil. And I had 4 of them. So, and I ratchet strapped them all the way down. So I'm like, if this thing blows out of here, we've got bigger problems than,
Brian, after we did this rodeo last year and it was like torrential downpour rain, we went and got sides for our tents also, because we looked so hillbilly, because we actually we didn't have sides at the time, but we had a bunch of tarps. So we had tarps. But the thing that made it look hillbilly though was that the tarps were like covered in every color of paint you could imagine. So it wasn't like it was brand new tarps. It was like used, but we were dry. So that's all that mattered.
Yeah.
We were absolutely dry.
That was just a style. That's just style. Almost everybody wants some style.
That's right.
Oh, it was a mess. It was such that day. It was pouring down and it was cold.
Yeah, I'm gonna get some of those weights, Philip, because one of the markets that I do is we end up being on asphalt, which that's even better on a 97-degree day when you're on asphalt.
So do you know what we did? Like thinking about that, and that we've never used it, is we bought some AstroTurf stuff.
That's pretty cool.
But but we've never, because we haven't really had many markets in the middle of summer on the pavement, so we've not even used it yet.
Yeah, well, the asphalt, you put your tent up so you can keep the sun off of you, but the market don't start till 3:00 in the evening, so the asphalt's up to about 150 degrees when you put your tent up, so it makes a nice little oven. So yeah, the AstroTurf, that'd be pretty cool.
It's heavy though.
It's a really
little patio. Yeah,
we might have to try that at Labadee Market this summer, because that is on pavement.
It's got a pretty thick mat to it as well, so it'd be pretty cushy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I bet Melissa be sitting on her little bucket though.
I bring chairs to the market. I don't got a bucket. You got a chair for that.
If the market's busy, you have no reason to sit down.
So we went to the lake this weekend, right?
Yep.
And on our way down there, you drive through Springfield. We always stop in Springfield at Sam's to get gas because it's cheaper. Well, I had to go to the bathroom. So I'm like, let me off at the store so I can go and go to the bathroom. So I'm in Sam's by myself. I'm walking down the aisles and I saw this really awesome Shark brand fan. It was on sale. It was $40 off. And it's wireless.
What?
So I'm like, oh, the boys have 2 markets this weekend.
Heck with
It's
those
good.
guys.
It's gonna be hot. That way, one of them can use the Milwaukee fan, and the other one can use this wireless Shark fan. Well, he of course doesn't know that I bought this fan, and he's talking on the phone when I get back to the car. So I just pop it in the back of the car. He has no idea I bought this thing. And we get to his sister's house, and he opens up the back. He's like, "What the heck is this?"
that wasn't on the list or the to buy. And then when she said she wanted it in case it gets hot, I'm like, heck with those guys. They're 18 years old. They'll be just fine. It's not like it's going to be 150 degrees.
Yeah.
No, but it's a really nice fan.
Yeah.
Yeah, DC, there's nothing like watching a bee try to drill through your bee suit, and you can feel that little stinger kind of tickling you, like, oh, she's about to get me, and you're trying to, move a little bit to get away from her, really touching your skin with that stinger. So,
Yeah.
Hey, Paul, she doesn't provide that lunch for me. I have to get it and go out the door with it if I want to eat.
Oh, that is such a bologna.
It wasn't bologna. It was only chips. I didn't even get a bologna sandwich. It was
most days he stops and grabs lunch at some restaurant. Act like he's not eating anything.
Look at that skinny boy. Look at that skinny boy.
Well, if I left the bee yard and went straight to a restaurant, I would get some funny looks.
Oh, I've walked in there before. I mean, I got my work pants on and a shirt like this, and then the spring as it's been so wet.
You going to grandma's?
I bought these really nice muck boots over the winter, and I'll tell you what, those really come in handy. When the grass is really tall in these fields and you're out there, bouncing around.
Mm-hmm.
Other than a little bit of sweat, my feet stayed dry, and they're actually pretty comfortable muck boots. So that's what I wear into the restaurant. Much like you see a farmer wear or something. I mean, I don't care.
Well, I posted that message the other day about one of these entrepreneurs needs to come up with a way you can get a wet T-shirt off without pulling the neck off.
Oh, I saw. Yeah, I saw you posted that. Yeah.
Yeah, I have the worst time trying to get a wet shirt off. I end up with a neck in my hand and the shirt's still on, and it just doesn't work.
You are not wrong. Every day this week, within 5 minutes of being in the bee yard, that thing is absolutely soaked.
Oh yeah.
He came in the house today. I'm like, did you take a shower outside?
It was only how warm was it? Mid-80s, upper 80s.
Yeah, because that was before noon, so that was it hadn't even hit 90 yet.
Yeah.
You guys still getting thunderstorms out there, or is it just hot now?
Warm.
It's humid.
We did have a quick storm that moved through late last night. It was a fairly quick hit. But it's just humid here. Just typical Missouri, just humid weather kind of settling in. And it's going to get pretty warm, actually. I think through part of the weekend and into the beginning of next week, we're going to be at the
mid-90s.
Up to like 93, 94 degrees. Mm-hmm. So pretty warm, And then, of course, the humidity will be high here, as it always is, which will make it feel like it's 150 degrees, Yeah. So.
Yeah, the humidity is the tough part. I mean, when I pulled the Supras the other day, it was nice temperature-wise in the morning, but the humidity was horrible.
Yeah.
It was like instant wet.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not sure if you're better off trying to work early in the morning or wait till it dries off a little bit, even though it's hotter.
Yeah.
Yeah,
true.
Here it is. You go out and you do a little work early in the morning, then you come back in, and then you go back out late afternoon when the shade kind of goes over some of the yards, and then you work those.
There you go.
That's a nice thought. It doesn't work out that way. When you have to work out in that for 10 to 12 hours, you can't just go out in the morning and then go out in the afternoon. That covers the entire day.
I think it's a great idea.
Yeah. Yep.
Then you can be a dummy like me, and your bee suit and your gloves and everything is wet, and so you lay it out in the sun so it can dry. But then you forget about it, and then it rains.
Gosh.
So then you have to put it back on with it even wetter than it was when you took it off.
Yeah.
So that's sweet. The life of a beekeeper.
Yeah. Hey,
We love
Lee,
it.
man, keep that 110 down there too, by the way. So
No doubt. Ew.
yeah.
So Jay, I would maybe make sure your frames are waxed appropriately. They have enough wax on them.
Mm-hmm.
Where are they making the burr comb? Are they making it like on the bottom of the frames or on the top of the frames? I mean, that's kind of normal. Are they drawing wonky comb on the frames?
Yeah, in our plastic foundations, if I notice that sometimes here's a thing that I've noticed in the past. So when you get into sometimes those dirts where their wax glands are not stimulated any longer, what they'll do is if you have plastic foundation in there that's heavily waxed, and what they'll do is they'll actually the bees will pick the wax off of it and redeposit it. So if you have not gotten that frame drawn out that year, it's best to re-wax it going into the next year. But I despise having to wax frames. So a lot of times I pull them out and I chuck them. And I told her, I'm like, we have a bunch. I'm like, if you want to wax them, go ahead. But if not, I'm getting rid of them because I don't want to wax them. We'll buy a whole nother lot of them and put them in there. As a matter of fact, I ordered 400 frames that we're picking up here this weekend when we go down to Springfield, Missouri for the Missouri State Beekeepers Conference that's down there. From actually the Golden Bee who was there at our conference, Ricky.
Yeah.
So he's got me all set up. So
It's
Daniel,
connected
is that
to
right?
frames. So I would say maybe your frames aren't waxed well enough. What you can do is separate those, kind of scrape the wax down to where it's supposed to be, and then checkerboard those two frames. Well, make sure that they got appropriate wax coating on them, and then checkerboard those in between frames that are already drawn out. Because sometimes too, when you put two frames that are not drawn out next to each other and everything else, sometimes they'll connect those frames together. It's just bees being bees.
I've noticed that if you have a good heavy wax coating on the plastic, you have a good population and they're stimulated, they'll usually draw them out evenly. But I will tell you this, and this is something that people may not think about, but things that I've noticed in the past. If you're checkerboarding frames in with frames that have wet nectar in it that's not capped, don't put an empty one next to it, because what they'll likely do is they'll continue to draw out thicker the frame that already has the nectar in it other than just drawing out the one new foundation that's on there. So if you're going to put it in and put it next to in between a brood, again, or one that is capped, and then they'll draw them out evenly. Otherwise they'll draw one extra thick and the other one they'll barely draw out. So checkerboarding would be like one drawn comb, one empty foundation, one drawn comb, one empty foundation.
Alternating.
Yep. The one thing I noticed as well that is probably good food for thought, I have made it a practice to, and I will say never put more than 2 frames of foundation separating brood, particularly eggs, because in cases I've seen them actually try to draw cells out when it's spaced out more than a couple of frames. You're kind of disconnecting it too far. Unless the colony is really strong, then it's less of a problem. And that's what I have noticed before when putting frames in. So sometimes it's easier to pull up a couple of frames of brood in there and just push all your foundations together and let them draw them out evenly together. But
now, Jay, this is what I do. This is from my wax melter. Okay, solar wax melter, and I'll break this off like a big piece of crayon, and I'll just heat the corner of it up with like a torch, and then I'll just take it like a big crayon and go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and that works really, really good. And they usually won't do that cross combing no more. And if you checkerboard like Tom says, they'll draw that out just like that. So, yep. If you have any leftover wax and you can melt it down, that's a really good thing to do those wax foundations with, and you don't throw them away like Tom does.
yeah,
He doesn't actually throw them away. They're just in a pile for
some of them I put out there
to be dealt with later.
Here's another thing too. If you get a foundation, a plastic foundation, and you like the ones I use are black, you cannot let those sit in a sunlight that's 80 degrees or better. It'll actually take that foundation and it'll warp it like this. And when that happens, it's junk. In my opinion, I throw it away. I won't even use it. I'll toss it, or I'll throw it in a pile of frames. And then when people are coming by and want frames, I'm like, you can have them, take them with you. They're yours, but this is the reason I called them.
Speaking of solar wax melters, I have to go out on the deck and do some scraping of ours so I can add more wax to it before they completely cool off. So I'll be back in a little bit.
Well, how about that? You're
Good
bailing
job, Tom. Good job, Tom.
Talking.
You're bailing out on us.
You got her trained well there, Tom.
Well, she told me that,
Hopefully
and
not.
once I came over here, she was going to make dinner. So I was kind of hoping she'd do that. And heck with the wax melter.
Hopefully my wife didn't hear that, because she'd be like, I'll show him tonight when I get home. Oh, Jay's only 13. That's awesome, Jay, man. You're getting right in there, brother.
He said he's only got the one deep for winter. Where are you located at, Jay?
I think he was on a chat the other night. I can't remember if it was Joey's or who it was. I think he said he was the first year into it. And I thought it was down south in one of the Carolinas, if I'm not mistaken, but I could be wrong.
Okay.
Oh,
Because he says he's had bees for about 3 weeks.
wow.
So relatively new. Jay, have you heard of the North American Honeybee Expo that is in Louisville, Kentucky in January? And if you could convince your parents to take you, you would have a good time.
And you might win a little, what is it they do there for the kids?
Yeah, that is the youth program.
He's
Yes.
young enough. He's young enough to get in that.
Yes, he
Yes.
is. So he's North Carolina. So he's somewhere in the neighborhood of you, Keith.
Yep.
Yeah.
So absolutely. If you've not gone to that, Jay, or you've had aspirations to do so, I would suggest you could, because what'll happen is if you get into the youth program, they pay for your travel, lodging, and I believe some expenses. I could be wrong on all those details. You'd have to go to the North American Honeybee Expo site to look up that, but you can actually, you have to submit some type of help me out here, guys. What am I looking for? What's the word?
I think they do a video. They have to do a video or something to submit.
Like a video essay or something.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that would be really cool. So you might, and actually they cover. So Jay, the NAHBE, NAHBE, North American Honeybee Expo. That's the largest expo here in North America. It's been in operation since what year was that, Ricky? 2020.
5 years ago?
Yeah.
At least 5 years ago. Yeah.
So I guess it started in 20, and that was down in Sevierville, Tennessee for the first 3 years. And the last 2 years, it has been in Louisville.
Thank you, Lee, man.
Yeah, Lee's got a link there.
Yeah, there you go. So if you look it up, so Jay, if you look at Kodiak Farm Bees, he posted a link to that. And obviously with your parents' permission, of course, if you're allowed to access that, you can check that out and you can apply for that youth scholarship. I believe they pay for, I think it's, and again, don't hold me to it and don't quote me. I believe they pay for one parent to accommodate you, of course. And so that could be something if you're interested in seeing some great speakers, some famous YouTube personalities like Mr. Keith Spillman and Ricky Rourke himself. Those two guys, you could get to see those. And there's great deals to be had for beekeeping equipment and just great fellowship with some of the most awesome people you'll ever meet. So check it out.
Yep, a lot of us will be there. It'll be fun. Looking forward to it.
I know. Melissa booked our room, bought our tickets, and everything's all secured. So
yep.
I heard JW's signing autographs again, so can't miss that.
Definitely, we're going to set up a booth for him. See if we can. So Cayman had said when he was here to St. Louis a couple weeks ago, and we had some conversations. But and I think this is semi-public knowledge. He just don't get what Mr. Hale Hives what Mr. Hale Hives meant to say was, "Don't get cornered by Paul or Craig. That's what they meant to say. I think he misspelled Paul as Tom.
Yeah, they do give away some free stuff, and the vendors will give away some free stuff sometime. And not only that, they're going to give usually a discount, better discount than you're going to be able to get anywhere else on any kind of equipment. So
That's right.
And like Tom says, the fellowship's really good. And I mean, I think don't they win something? Can't you win something as the 13-year-old or the youth? Don't they win something else?
I think so. And if I'm not mistaken, John Hill was pretty generous last year. I think he gave them a smoker box, like a metal smoker box. And I think there was a smoker in it too. And there's other vendors that would give out stuff to the scholarship kids. So there's some really generous people there, Jay, and you would probably find, they'll give you away like some, you might be able to get like a free frame or different little gadgets and things like that when you go there. And sometimes they do drawings for things and, raffles and things of that nature. So there is a lot of different things you could probably walk away from there without having to spend a dime, particularly if you're able to get through the youth scholarship that's there. So talk to your parents about it.
Yeah. And at least half the people probably on YouTube right now in this chat's probably been to, one of the conferences, and we'll probably be going to the next conference coming up. So it's really pretty cool to meet people you talk to on YouTube and live streams. That's for sure.
That's right. Some pretty awesome people there.
Yep.
Yeah. And Russell Koopman brings up a really great point. He says, in fellowship with other young beaks across the country. So you guys can compare notes about things that you guys do in your own neck of the woods, maybe little tips or tricks, things that they might have encountered. And so it's in Louisville, Kentucky. So it'd be north of you, Jay. I'm not sure where you're at in North Carolina and how far of a drive that would be, but
you going this year, Keith, to the Nobby?
Oh yeah. We've already got tickets and hotel. We're ready to go.
Ready to go.
Looking forward to it.
I'm sure he'll bring some honey for everybody as much as he's got. So,
well, he's been harvesting 13,000 pounds a day apparently. So he might have a little droplet to spare.
I'm gonna put some little drains in his bottom of his hives just to drain that honey out and kind of go off his property, And
I filled up a bunch of those little bitty honey bears.
Oh wow!
For a thing I did at the public library the other week. Boy, those are a lot of fun to fill up. Jeez.
You probably get more.
Lots of messes with that. Yeah. Is there an easy way to do those?
I don't know. Tom, is there an easy way to do those little honey bears? I don't think so.
Well, I actually don't like the honey bears themselves, whether it's the 2 pound, 1 pound, the little bitty ones. And anytime we've ever, if we have won them in a little drawing or raffle, I actually just give them away. And honestly, most of the free stuff I get at Nobby, you get a frame or whatever, when I take it to our club meeting, I just give them away there,
Yeah.
And it's not that I'm too good for this stuff, it's something that I may not use. Or if it's a hive tool or something that I've got, I don't even know, probably 20 of them around here. I'll give them away, somebody else will need it more than me. So.
Yeah. I gave those little honey bears away to the kids up at the library. I can't really sell them because I don't have a label small enough to go on them.
Yeah.
So they would be giveaways at the market too. But people love those things. I started selling the little 8-ounce honey bear this year, and y'all know as well as I do. The smaller the bottle, the better the profit margin.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
And people just love those stupid little things because they're cute.
Yeah. They're nice for gifts.
But if you do the math, all the prices are right there. If you did some quick math, you would know that's really not a good plan. But they love them. They're cute.
Maybe Jonathan's right here. Maybe you just need to get one of the Hilco bottling machines. I tell you what,
it'll do the little small 2-ounce jobbies.
That's what he'd say. Hey, I've got a brand new one that I bought at the Missouri conference, and it's still boxed up. So I could let you borrow it for a certain percentage of some honey, maybe.
He's really negotiating there, Keith. Man, he is working overtime on this.
Yeah, y'all would laugh if you saw my setup where I just put the, I've got 5-gallon buckets with the little honey gate on it, the old timey slidey honey gate. Set that on top of a big pot and just start filling jars. And it goes pretty quick actually. And if I'll pay attention, I won't make too big of a mess.
Yeah,
If
hey, you know what? Those work just fine.
Yeah, if Michelle comes in and I start trying to talk to her, a mess is coming. So it's hard to say. You have to concentrate to fill jars, but that's when you get old. Yeah, you have to.
Yeah,
you have to do that.
I like Mark's idea about setting up some like he steal your honey out of your hives. He's the man.
Oh Lord,
I got all kinds of good ideas right now.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's going to be coming this way.
You better hide your hives.
YouTube's not going to be good for you, Keith. Everybody knows your location.
In all seriousness, I think doing all these pulls, I think you make more honey when you can do that.
Mm-hmm.
You can't do that obviously if you've got several hundred hives. You can't do what I do. Mm-hmm. But when you see somebody have one big pull, like Bruce is fixing to have a big pull, and it's going to be awesome. He's going to make, Lord knows how much honey he's going to make. Mm-hmm. But a lot of his supers are going to be full.
Yeah.
Well, if he could have got that off a while back and put more supers on there, he could probably have made more honey. And I know the logistics, it just don't work to do that with a huge number of hives. But I think if you got a small number of hives, multiple pulls is really the way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Because they've always got space to put more.
Yep.
Well, if you think about it too, like you're saying, Keith, and kind of to jump on with that, if you have 3 supers high, the bees have to transfer all the way up unless you have other entrances all the way up to get it to the top.
Yep.
It'd be probably more likely that they could fill them up quicker if they didn't have to go up 3 or 4 supers and they're just one super above the brood nest. And if you're putting them back on, you're probably putting them back on wet, which they're immediately going to go to those supers. Yeah. I mean, just quick. So that would make sense.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Bees love the wet supers. You can hear them sometimes right before you set that box down. You can hear the bees kind of rev up when you push that scent down into the upper box.
They get excited.
I'll probably stick those all back on tomorrow. Now these, surely the flow is going to calm down sometime. These supers, I really just want to put back on for them to repair and clean up, and then I'm going to put them back in storage because I've still got supers on all the hives. There's still 1 or 2 supers on every hive aside from what I extracted.
Yeah.
So it's really time to start pulling them off because I want to. When I do my OA treatments middle end of July, I don't want any of my supers on there. So
And Russell's making a good comment there. They realize they don't have that much honey, so it's like, oh gosh, we got to go get some more. We got to boost this up. So
yeah, I guess that's some bee psychology there. I guess that might be true. I mean, that's how we do the queen. You split the brood and put an empty foundation, and the queen's like, oh, I've got plenty of room. Where'd all my babies go? I need to lay some more eggs.
That's right.
I guess the honey would be similar. Maybe it works for me. I don't know. I think I might have stumbled into something here, but I do think I think with a small number of hives, I think that's the way to go. Always leave the ladies room.
Mm-hmm.
Don't wait and do one big pull.
Yeah.
And have a lot of 40-pound medium boxes. Because rarely, I mean, I get some full boxes, but when I pull like those 23 supers I pulled, probably would have mounted to, I don't know, 16, 18 full ones, maybe. Mm-hmm. But they weren't all packed. But that's the way I've been doing it.
Yeah.
So
we've actually drawn a lot of new foundation this year with selling nukes. I think with the few that we pulled to donate to the North Carolina folks, and all the ones that I sold, I think I'm up to just a few shy of 100 this year that we've turned loose. And we basically, not quite that many, but Well, there had been close to that because I came out of winter with 110, and then we were up somewhere around 212 colonies that were queen right. There's a few of them that didn't work out, and I had to pull those back, shake the bees out of them. There was probably just a handful of them on the second round that we did, but we had pretty good mating with the queens, even with all the weather that we were having. So I was pretty thankful for that. And most of these now have, on the second round of splits, have now gotten into a second 8-frame box. So that's my goal, is to get all that comb drawn out for them. And then we have to get, I think I'm going to be short by about 30-ish or so boxes. So we have going to get those coming, and also some frames. So we grew a little bit more than my had originally anticipated with that. But, cycling out all that comb, and we had a lot of comb to build this year, which would have affected the honey crop that we had a little bit too, but that's all right. I love looking at that beautiful white wax that's in there. And it's just so mesmerizing to pull that out there and look at it. Gosh,
Yeah.
it's a beautiful sight.
Yeah, especially the white wax. When I've started getting some black frames, just because Miller's ran out of the white ones, but I usually use the white frames. But yeah, the white wax on the white frames, you can't even hardly see it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you have to look close. So,
Yeah.
So I want to change gears.
Go ahead,
Tom.
I say we use the white acorn foundations in the honey supers because I want to see what color the nectar is that's coming in, and you can see it just beautifully against that white. Whereas if it was black, it would be really deceiving and showing the color. So, but then our foundations that are down in the deep brood boxes, those are all black. So the contrast works out well until those combs age quite a bit and those cells get a little darker. Then you have a little bit harder time seeing down inside there. But man, I love pulling out one of those newly drawn out frames, and they've only got them about halfway drawn out, and the queen has already laid all kinds of eggs in there.
Oh yeah.
Myself, I'm like, that is what motivation looks like, So that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. And that beautiful brood that the queen makes when you get her on the top side of your queen excluder and she lays in all that pretty all that pretty wax that you've got up in the honey super, that real light beige colored brood.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I had one of those happen last year, Keith. I did. And it does trigger my OCD a little bit. It makes me a little twitchy, and I'm like, beautiful white, and you pull it out and you're harvesting honey and you pull it out and you see brood and you're like, uh-oh, we got a problem. And you got to dive down there and figure out what's going on. I mean, whether or not you have two queens or you just have one queen that maybe got above the queen excluder. It happens. I think sometimes you get a virgin that comes back in. She goes straight to the top and squeezes her way through a queen excluder and starts laying up there. And she can't get back down. It happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love it.
So Jay, I tell you, can you split your hive next year, or yes or no? It all depends on how strong they are. And if you do want to split them, I suggest putting some feed on them, get them going. If you want to put a little bit of pollen patty on one and, boost them up and get them going really, really early, then split them then at that point. But hardest part's just going to be getting them through winter right now for you.
That's your first job, Jay. That's the first test of a beekeeper, to get your bees through the winter. Once you can get your bees through the winter, that opens the door to do lots of stuff. Yes. But you need the bees to be alive to do all those things. So worry right now how to get your bees through the winter.
Yeah. They say, Jay, the beekeeper's season begins in July. You would think it begins in the spring, but it begins in July, because if you cannot keep those colonies healthy and keep those mites in control, they won't come out of winter. So the beekeeper season, that's to begin here this next coming month.
Yep. So I want to switch gears just a little bit. Before I do that, I want to say a big thanks to Keith to donating some nukes, and Tom and Melissa. You guys are awesome. Matt and Alicia, for their donation. And we also had Paul donated, and had some local beekeepers to donate some nukes also. And we had some money from Philip and a couple other people. And I want to say thank you very much for that. It's a blessing, to help people out. And I I'm looking forward to driving out and seeing Matt and JW and eating some breakfast with them, and then driving all the way back to North Carolina and dropping them off. So you guys are awesome for those donations. Thank you very much. But I want to talk a little bit about robin today. Like I said earlier, I had a huge robin issue here at the house. And why do bees rob? We're in just a little bit of a dearth. It just started, and boom, my colonies that are 2 frames with 1 queen, I had 4 of them to get killed. So a weak colony is definitely going to take, getting robbed, but you wouldn't think a small dearth would cause that. But it definitely did. It's part of beekeeping. I'm learning from that, especially with the queen rearing that I'm doing right now. I would definitely like to overwinter some nukes, but I'm really scared. Is these nukes going to be strong enough? 1, to get through winter, kind of what Jay's talking about here, and 2, can I keep my bigger colonies from robbing them? So, what do you guys think about robbing? I mean, what's your opinion? What causes bees to rob? I know it's a little bit genetics, the strong survives, but what do you think about that, Keith?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's something I've got to watch tomorrow. The last time I set off some robbing in my yard was when I was putting the wets back on, and that's what I'm going to be doing tomorrow. So, I mean, and putting the wets back on, I mean, how long does that take? You pull off the top and the inner cover, and you stick. I mean, you're just in there less than a minute, and but still, that scent of the honey, you're in there less than a minute. But if you're doing, 12 hives, I guess that honey smell, you're out. That's a lot of smell that gets out in the yard. So that seems to be the biggest issue in my yard is when I do something, when I put the wets on, when I do an inspection, when I do something. So that'll do it. But yeah, I mean, the robin season is my least favorite season. It helps me because we talked about it a little bit before we went on the air. All of my hives are right here on our property. I don't have any out yards, so I'm in my bees every day. Unless we're on vacation or something, I see them every day. But still, things can happen when I'm not there. Lord knows what's going on in out yards. You folks that have, lots of hives in multiple yards. Yeah, that's a good idea to do everything early in the morning. That's probably what I'll do tomorrow, but as long as it's not raining. But
yeah, okay.
But still, even when you do it early in the morning, then all the foragers are at home. So
yeah.
You can rouse them up. A lot of them are hanging out on the front of the hives now on these warm, muggy nights. So they'll smell that breakfast when you come cruising up in the truck with all those wet supers. But
smells like Sarahwood in that comment. Let's go.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, even if you're there, to stop robbing, you have to. I guess you could put robbing screens on all your hives before you even got robbing. No doubt, running a small entrance helps. That's one thing I like about running screen bottom boards. I don't have to worry about ventilation. So I don't run the smallest entrance, but I run the next one. I never pull my entrance reducers out. I leave them in. So that's another thing that shows you can make a lot of honey with the entrance reducer left in.
Yep.
So
that's right.
You don't have to pull those out, but I don't have to worry about ventilation because I got the screen bottoms. So that those 2 items go together nicely. But yeah, maybe you can stick your robin screens on, maybe the plastic ones or the little handmade ones like I do out of the 1/8 hardware cloth. Just staple those bad boys on there early in the season and leave them. So, because that was something I know Fred Dunn always said, after the robbers come out to a hive, even if you can make them stop, they'll be back the next day.
Yes. Yes.
According to him, they'll keep coming back until they die. They have a memory. They know where they found it. I know if I put sugar syrup out on the deck, for the bees early in the spring, which I always like to do just to gauge what's going on with the flow, they'll come back every day. looking for that plate. So they're going to do the same thing when they're robbing. They're going to keep coming back. Even if you can stop it, they'll be back the next day.
And those like 2 framers I had, they still had some brood on them. And I'm like, I plugged the entrances so no bees, even the bees that were in there, I'm not letting anybody out, right?
Yeah.
And tomorrow I'm going to pull those frames and add them to a different colony because, like you say, they're going to come back. They're going to take everything.
Yeah.
So.
Well, there's no way those little small colonies can have enough guard bees. When 10,000 bees from a big hive come dropping by, they can't do nothing with that. There's no way.
Yeah. So, Tom, what do you think about that, Robin? And I know you do a lot of bit of the smaller nukes and stuff. How big of a problem is that for you? And what do you do to kind of stop some of that?
Yeah, I mean, it happens. With as many numbers as what we have, I try to do my best to minimize it. Like we don't feed from the entrance. We don't feed from the outside. I don't really do any open feeding. I feed internally with either a division board frame feeder or preferably if I'm wanting to bulk them up, I'll use a hive top feeder. But pretty much like what Keith said, it's a real deal. We keep our entrance reducers in too. We run 8 frame equipment. So we have it on that, what's like a 3.5 inch setting or something, maybe 4 inch at best. I just put them in a feed year round. I have mostly unscreened bottom boards, but we have some solid and I treat them all the same. And, I try to, in the springtime, you can grow small colonies next to big colonies. But I think that when the summer wears on, I try to separate them up quite a bit, either get them similar sized or separate them out to a different yard. Everybody may not have that luxury. But what I would do then in that case, if I had to keep them all in the same yard, I would probably reduce those entrances way down. So if I had a 5 frame nuke in there and I had a bunch of big production colonies, I'd probably only give them maybe, depending on the number of bees in there, maybe an inch and a half opening in there. Sometimes people get too hung up on the bees are going to overheat kind of deal. And I just, bees are an intelligent creature. They've been here a lot longer than us, and I think that they do a pretty good job of thermoregulating. Now, there are times and probably instances where if you're in a climate that gets to be, 115 plus degrees, there may be, things there that could cause issue. But for the most part, when we don't usually see 100 degrees, or if we do, it's short-lived, the bees will be out there. Most of the time, it's just, like he said, you don't put extra bodies inside the house that don't need to be in there. They hang out on the front porch and just, with little to nothing to do in the dearth. And I don't concern myself with it, honestly. But we just try to move these smaller ones out to a separate yard area. And if I'm feeding, I don't drip any. If I'm going through doing inspections and I notice a little bit, what appears to be bees following you from one hive to another, shut it down, go somewhere else. Don't continue to, like Keith said, aerify that honey inside the yard, because you're going to, once the bees smell that and they're in a dearth, they just kind of go absolutely nuts. Bees just go crazy with that.
Yes, they do.
And I think it partly is genetics. I would say as a good overall, Italians tend to be hoarders. They don't know when to quit. They'll continue to keep going, whereas you can have other bees that are a little more conservative. Probably and one of the downfalls to Italians is they can be a little bit more robby than other ones because they don't shut down. If I only had a handful of colonies, I probably would have robber screens on all of my colonies inside of my yard, but I try to just keep a strong, robust colony, try not to put smaller ones in with bigger ones. If you're going to feed, I would recommend feeding early in the morning or do it late in the evening if you have that luxury. That way, when you get that smell in the air, the bees are not going to fly when it's dark, so that can kind of help out. But like he said, once you start robbing, there's only so many of those bees that are guard bees. And once those guard bees have been depleted, it's open season on that colony. Bees will come and go as they please with little to no resistance at that point. So you have to be cautious of that, I guess. So there's a lot of little tips and tricks, I guess, that devices that you can use to help minimize things. But I think the robin screens probably help. I've never utilized them, but I've seen them in other people's colonies, and I'm sure they're a great tool.
So Go ahead, Keith.
Yeah, Russell Koopman had a comment there about opening up all the hives so they all start trying to protect home. I've always heard that, but I've never tried that. Have y'all ever? Has anybody in the chat or anything? Have you ever tried that to kill a robin event? Open up all the hives?
I haven't, but that's a great idea.
DC says it works.
I'm sure it would do something.
I think if a colony is being robbed and it's been happening more than 10 or 15 minutes, you might as well just let Mother Nature play out, because at that point in time, there's probably been more damage there in that 10 to 15 minutes than you might be able to reverse. Because if those bees went in there and found that queen and killed her, you're going to fight an uphill battle trying to get that queen, trying to get that colony right again anyway. So
Jade's got a good question right here, and I'm kind of curious to see what everybody says. Do I cut out bird comb and let them breed, or just leave it? What do you guys do? Sometimes I take a little out that might squeeze some bees, but for the most part, I just leave it. What about you, Keith? What do you do with that?
Yeah, I'll usually just leave it, unless, if it's got a bunch of drone brood or something in it where I ripped when I opened a box, I'll usually scrape that off. But unless it's got some drone brood, I don't usually mess with it. I'll go through my supers before I store them this winter and scrape off all the boxes and clean up, get all the propolis off of between them and, clean them all up. But normally during the inspection, I'm not scraping a lot of bird comb.
Yeah. What about you, Tom? What do you guys do?
So the parts that I focus on now, first of all, I'm sure some people in this know it. I'm a little OCD about things, so I may scrape a little more than the average person does, but I don't spend a lot of time on it. But the most important things, in my opinion, to scrape down would be the frame rests, get the propolis off there, and also the end bars on the outside, scrape those down. Those are, in my opinion, the most important. Now, if they have comb that's built out and they made it fat at the bottom, so when you pull it up, you'll drag bees or roll bees. That I always take that off now, but that doesn't mean that every time there's drone brood on there, I take it off. Sometimes I'll go through and I'll, try to scrape them a little bit. And even on the edges, the outside of the box, if they draw in some comb or connecting comb, when you pull it up, you'll rip those cappings open. I'll scrape that down against the edge of the box. But usually the rest, I don't concern myself with much, but just trying to keep it where I can work through it efficiently. So I'll spend just enough time to where it's not going to cause a problem. Everything else is kind of left, I guess. And then most of the time I get lazy, and when I'm scraping it down, I'm flicking it out in the yard, in a field or something. It's time management. To me, it's just there's not as much value there, I guess, but some people carry a bucket with them and they can throw it in that. And that's a great idea if you have a few hives and have a little more time to spend in it. I just scrape it off and flick it out.
Yeah, my bloodhound really enjoys that brood comb that I throw out in the yard. She'll come through and she'll find every little niblet of honeycomb out away from the hives. Now she won't go up close to the hives. She's got popped enough times where she won't go up to the hives, but yeah, I try to flick it, 15 feet away or something from the hive so she can get it.
Yeah. I would say, and we don't have that, but if you have chickens, scrape that off and throw it in the chicken pen. I mean, that's great protein for them,
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Especially like what, Keith was saying, if you have any of that drone brood kind of through there and you chisel that off, throw it out to the chickens, they go crazy over that stuff.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Recycle.
So Ricky here, I have to meet Matt up at the shop in about 10 minutes. So
okay.
I don't know if Melissa's not going to come on here. I'm gonna log off, and if you guys happen to be on when I get back, which I don't know that you will be, I can log back on. But I want to get those. Matt's picking up a big tote bag of sugar I picked up for him today, and he's going to get the nukes, and I'm going to give him that interview cover that you left here in St. Louis.
Thank you.
So that will be in Matt's truck with him. So I want to get that out of my garage and get that to you. It's been sitting in there ever since January, and I can't use it. I don't have 10 frame stuff, so it's useless for me,
I'm glad I get to get it back, after leaving it. So I'm looking forward to using it.
No problem. It's been stored here, and Melissa reminded me the other day, and I'm like, yep, I pulled it out and I threw it in my truck so I wouldn't forget it. So
okay. Thank you, Tom. Appreciate it, brother.
That should be in the mix. So I'll talk to you guys later.
See you later, Tom.
See ya. I'll see you guys. I'm going to log off. Melissa's doing some work in there, so I'll see you all.
Right. See you. Thank you, buddy. Yep.
Yeah, I noticed a while ago DC popped up and said he had tried that about opening up all the hives and he said it worked. So might have to give that a shot sometime.
Yeah, I don't know if I'll do my little ones, but definitely probably do my big ones that way. So
yeah.
It's definitely better than UPS. Clay, go ahead, Phil. I'm sorry. Keith.
But yeah, they were talking about the small hives mixed in with the big hives, and I've definitely got that. So I've got a lot of little 5-frame nukes right beside some of my big production hives.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like the little saplings in the forest beside the big trees. So
I think you guys said it right, and this is probably why I'm having the problem. We had just pulled those queens about a week ago, and that cycle of guard bees is probably not on those 2 frames, right? Because you got merging brood and whatever little nurse bees we took. I just didn't have anything to stop that robin from going on, and that was a mistake on my part, and I definitely need to get my production colonies away from my queen rearing setup. So
because like you say, the way your queen, that's a tongue twister. Queen rearing colonies. There's a lot of nurse bees in there. So that's almost like when you do a split. I know if I do a split, and I usually I'll just shake a lot of nurse bees in there. The foragers fly back home, but the nurse bees stay in the split. And you can put it real close to the hive that you split because they don't know where they're at anyway. But for the first few days after you do a split, there's not much going on with that hive on the landing board because they're all nurse bees. They're all in there eating and tending to the young, and there's food and everything's lovely, and there's no foragers, there's no guards, there's no nothing. So
especially if you've got a queen in that split, right? The squid doesn't have that queen in there. It's like they've lost all hope until this new queen comes, right? They're just kind of okay, what do we do now, right?
Yeah. So and so you get a queen until you hatch some brood, until there's some promotions within the hive.
Yes.
The nurse bees, there's no reason for the nurse bees to become guard bees or foragers, so they just stay on the frames. So so when the bad guys show up, there's nobody protecting the door, nothing.
Yeah. And see, those colonies had little holes. I think they wasn't no bigger than maybe 3/4 inch round hole. And I really wish I had turned the disc and even made it even smaller than that. I mean, I'm talking about teeny tiny small, and I didn't do that. So.
Yeah, bees don't need a big hole. You've seen some of these cutouts that Dirt Rooster and Mr. Ed have done, and just humongous hives and walls with little bitty holes, going in for the bees to get in and out. So, yeah.
And I think really, this is just my opinion, but I think when you have a really big entrance, and I've seen this with the horizontals, they've actually propolised the entrance. And made it smaller, and it's weird because that propolis, it's like they've got to create a wind tunnel, right, to make all that airflow through there, especially on a horizontal because it's long, right? So wind tunnel they've got to create to make that circulation that they need in there to cool the hive down to a certain level. So that's a horizontal is pretty interesting when you start looking at. They really, my entrances are only 10 inches, 10 inches by 3/4, but I really think maybe 4 inches by 3/4 is probably enough. Or shrink it down to 3/8, or something like that. So.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah.
So do you don't entrance feed, right? Keith, you do top feeding also, is that right?
Yeah. If I'm going to feed, I just use those little rapid round feeders. Put a feeder shim on top and use those things. You can use them for wet feed or dry feed, either one. I just for whatever reason, I started using those, and I've got a bunch of them now, and they work good for me. I like them because I can pop the tops and refill them without having to get into the bees. They've worked well for me.
Yeah, man. I think when I start pulling my queens, I was hopefully just hoping to do 2 frames, but I think next time I do that, I'll do 3 frames and leave the 2 frames behind and pop in another cell and see if I can't get that one going. Because losing a mated queen, that's tough, man. Because that's a whole month's worth of work getting that queen mated and back to the colony. So
yeah. Now, do you have the queens for those nukes I'm going to bring, or does the fella that's going to get those have the queens?
I have queens still for those.
Okay.
Yeah. I've got some virgins that should get mated definitely by this weekend and still be good. So I think they're already mated, but they're not laying yet. How's that?
I'm going to load those up with bees tomorrow. I folded the boxes today, so a little cardboard. What do they call those? I can't remember the name of the boxes. Jester boxes.
Jester boxes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Keith. And if y'all don't know, Keith's got mediums, so this is, we're going to do a little manipulation here, and these guys will still get some bees, even though their medium frame's going into a deep box. So it'd be kind of cool.
They're going into a deep Jester box.
Yeah. I think what they told me what they was going to do to start with is just, do a deep box, empty frames, maybe a queen excluder that medium kind of fill out, and then pull the queen excluder out and let her just go straight down after that point. So
that'll work. And they'll, I've got that one hive that swarm that I moved that I'd forgot about that drew out the mediums into and made them into deeps, where they put that extra comb at the bottom. And that hive is doing great, man. It's a strong hive. You just have to remember that comb is there and not jostle it too much. But they built that pretty stout. It'll get a little weaker when the temps go up. Yeah. But the bees, they'll find a way. So they'll make it work.
Yep. And Russell's got a question for you there, Keith.
I use I think I use 1x4s when I make the shims and just cut them, make a box out of them. I'm pretty sure that's what I use, and that's plenty of room for it. Yeah, and
I think you can even use 2x4s. I think, and even that's 3.5 inches, maybe.
Something like that. So, but yeah, that works good for me because that's just part of my my winter setup. I leave those even when I'm not using the rapid round feeders. I'll have that insulated inner cover with my 4-inch shim. Then I'll have my fondant patty on top of that, over the hole in the inner cover, and then insulated top on top of that. And that's pretty much my winter setup, and the fondant. We're already talking about winter, but that's what we need to be talking about. Beekeepers need to always be looking at the next season.
That's right.
It's kind of like judging how to hit that ball. You don't wait for it to get to the bat.
Yeah,
you got to be swinging before it gets there. So, This Gary said use an empty medium.
Yeah,
nothing in the world wrong with that.
Shallow works good too if you got some extra shallows.
Shallows work really good for that. That's I don't use any shallow boxes with frames, but a lot of beekeepers, especially the older beekeepers, have a lot of shallow boxes that they don't need anymore. They don't use anymore, and those make great shims.
Yes,
and even their old mediums, you can cut them down, and if they've got rod on top or bottom, you can cut them down and make a shim out of them. So.
I had a medium that got bear attacks and ripped the little bevel, the step down on it. I'm like, gosh, I'm gonna throw this away. I'm like, wait a second, I can use that for a shim, right? So I just sliced it all the way around, and there's a simple shim, right?
Just try not to hit nails with your table saw.
Yeah, I go through a lot of blades. Yeah, Mark, if you get someone to mow your yard, I need someone to mow my yard because my yard, after coming from the beach, actually tousled out. This is no lie. It tousled out like a hayfield. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, when it rains every night and the sun's out during the day, the grass really likes that.
It does.
Yeah.
So, that's interesting. Did you see that right there, Keith?
What was that?
Matt mentioned 5 brood cycles before winter bees are laid here in Missouri.
Yeah. Let's see. What is it? It's now it's July, August, September. Yeah. I guess that's right.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Very interesting. So Redfish has got a question for you, Keith. He says, is there bears where you are?
I've found evidence of bears passing through this area, and there's been some pictures of some bear sightings around the county, but not really, not having to put up electric fences or anything. I've never had any damage, and knock on wood, I hope it stays that way. Definitely probably got bears up Ricky's way.
Yeah, we got plenty of them up our way. And that's the thing with the stock trailer and putting my bees inside the stock trailer is that I don't have to worry about the bears, right? I can just pick them up, go and stick them where I want to, put a lock on it, and then come back. And hopefully Keith's bees will not have taken everything, and I get a little bit of honey from them. So
you're still moving. You're moving to a higher elevation with some of your hives. You're going after some sourwood.
Yeah, I'm going to take these big colonies that are giving me problems here in my bee yard, and they're going to get out of here. Hopefully I was hoping to get my bees on the sourwood next week, but it sounds like it's already started. So hopefully I can get them in Wilkesboro, the start of it, and then the top of the mountain where I'm at, which is pushing about 3,000 feet in elevation, and then go up to, I think that other mountain's like 4,000 feet, and a sourwood there and finish the season off on sourwood, hopefully. So we'll see how that goes.
Okay. Good deal. I hope you catch it good.
Oh, wow. Ruth says that Amber saw a bear today in the river taking a bath, she said.
Okay. Probably needed one.
I hope that wasn't here at the house because I don't need one at this location. So
they could do so much damage without even trying. It's like I was a maintenance and facility manager for many years. They're kind of like a forklift. A forklift can do so much damage inside of without even trying because it weighs so much. It's so big. There's just so much energy there.
Yes.
So a bear's a lot like a forklift.
And they just tear everything apart. I mean, I'm talking like rip the frames apart, and I've got intercovers with teeth marks in them. I mean, gosh,
it's not even a challenge. It's like opening a box of Pop-Tarts.
Exactly. I mean, I've got them ratchet down, and they still are breaking. Getting that ratchet strap off and still getting in there. So crazy. Hey, Kai, it's good having you on here tonight. So he's got some really good stuff down there. I think he's in Jamaica, if I'm not mistaken. So some tropical bees, I guess some warmer climate bees anyway. So. Yeah, Clay, I will definitely keep JW and Matt straight this weekend. I can't wait to see these guys on Saturday and buy them some breakfast and listen to JW tell some good stories and then get on the road and get back this way. So, So what do you normally get for your flow down there, Keith? For the summer flow, I mean, do you get a pretty good flow, or is it kind of hit and miss like the fall flow, or how does that go for you?
This year's been a little bit different. Last year, I think my flow pretty much turned off after the tulip poplars. And it got really dry down here. We had a lot of trouble. The corn crops. It didn't make cobs. There wasn't any. I didn't make ears. Excuse me, not cobs. A lot of the corn didn't make ears. There was no Dutch clover. I didn't have any clover around. It was so so this year that hadn't been a problem. We got plenty of water. So the corn looks good. The clover looks good. Everything looks good. But I think normally the flow does tend to trail off. This year, like I said, the flow stopped. It looked pretty normal. The bees hanging out on the porch, getting ready to go into kind of a mini dearth. And then they fired right back up again. So I'm not sure. Maybe with all that rain, maybe the persimmon and the mimosa and that stuff is making more of an impact than it usually does. I don't know. The persimmon and the mimosa.
What's going on, JW?
Well, I figured I better fill in. You guys are going to talk about me. I just got home.
Hey, JW.
It's been all night. Don't worry about it, JW.
Oh, I don't know if them boys told you or not. I just got home from the hospital today, so
Hadn't heard that, JD. What's going on, brother?
I had a little kidney tract problem. So I think they got me straightened out, hopefully. So that's the reason I've been kind of incognito. So I'm on my phone. I've been home about 3-4 hours. So
wow.
They told me I wouldn't get released in time to come to Matt, but I had to bribe my doctor, but I got him to release me this afternoon. So we'll see what happens.
I figured you was bribing some of them nurses, with your fine talk, probably.
They was glad to get rid of me. I think I was aggravating them about half to death. They had a bunch of nice young nurses, and they did a good job. So but I was sure glad to get out of there.
Mm-hmm.
Wore out, no rest. So I had told Tom, he and I had talked on the phone a little bit before you came on. The reason I come on is when you go private, I'll holler at you and we'll make arrangements to decide where we're going to meet at.
Okay, that sounds good.
Saturday, Rick. Matt's supposed to come over to my place tomorrow afternoon. We'll put some stuff together. I was going to tell you, have you got plenty of new boxes?
Yeah, I've got plenty of.
I've got some used ones I could bring. If you guys, I don't have anything to put in them. But
I've got some Pro Nukes, the ones that you picked up that I'm gonna send back with Tom and Matt to replace a little bit to help with the cost, because when you're selling nukes, $200 sounds great, but then you got to remember you got the Pro Nuke you had to buy, the frames, all the wax and stuff. That's a lot of bee work that has to be done. So there's a lot that you're losing when you give a nuke away. So.
Yeah, I've got some stuff. It's just around here. I give a lot of nuke boxes away to folks, and so forth. I've got 2 or 3 Pro Nukes and 4 or 5 Jesters. If there's a need for them, I can try to, throw them on to Saturday morning early. So I'm going to let you guys, I'm on my phone.
Okay.
I'm going to let you go ahead and finish out your chat without trying to be a smart aleck. And
yeah, pop back on here in a few minutes and we'll discuss the trip out. Okay.
Yeah, that's you just you go ahead and I'll whenever you give me a close off shout, I'll come back at you.
All right.
And good to see you, Keith.
See you, man.
I wasn't trying to ignore you. I just wore out. I don't hardly know.
I understand. Hospital's not a good place to get any rest.
Yep.
How to carry on the conversation right at the moment. That's unusual for me.
Well, get some rest, JW.
Okay.
All right, buddy. See you.
See you, man.
So as we need to pray for JW, and man, I hope he feels better. Anybody's got to spend some time in the hospital. It's not fun. I don't like being there, and it seems like it takes way too long to get out once you get in there. So,
so when you are doing your bee ferry, you'll be the bee ferry this weekend. Is most of those drop offs there around Creston or closer to Boone, or where's most of your drop offs going to be at?
Everything should be at West Jefferson at the agricultural office, which is the same thing as the town hall. Yeah. And everybody's going to be coming picking up there. I do have a few people that that's going to pick up a little later. Clay's going to bring his bees down next week, so they'll be a little bit on the later side, getting down here. And then Lois Rascal, one of the ladies here in North Carolina, who was helping me with the queen rearing, she's got some bees that the queens have not returned yet. So going to give those to some experienced beekeepers so that if those don't come back, those queens don't come back, I can replace a queen and go from there. So,
Okay.
yeah. And she's got a lot of people that needs bees, that lost bees with the floods. And it's like 10 minutes from her house. So instead of taking them all the way 30 minutes away and then somebody come get, hey, let's just take those straight to those people's houses.
Yeah.
So we hope to do that on maybe Monday of next week also.
Okay.
So,
Good deal.
I got let's see. Obviously, that's the
There you go.
list of people that
Gonna-
needs bees.
All right. Going to put a little buzz back in Ashe County.
Yes, absolutely. And Keith, up here, it seems like there's always something blooming, so usually the bees are always going up here. So a little dearth up here is kind of unusual. So
Yeah.
I had a new guy at work the other day, and he says, I looked up the rainfall for you guys, and he said, technically you guys could be a tropical rainforest.
Oh, I believe it.
Yeah.
Good. They had some, I-40, I think, is closed again where they got washed out up at the Tennessee line.
Yep.
All kinds of bad floods up there.
Yep.
Again.
Yeah. I tell my wife, I said, really, I didn't think another tree could fall down up here. I mean, it looks like most of the forest have been sawmilled. That's what it looks like.
Wow.
That's how few trees, and maybe that's part of the low flow this year. I don't know, but definitely, it's been rough. And a lot of our farms, we do appreciate that. I know that everybody can't give hives and stuff, and people are a long ways away, but the thought is always what counts. Always what counts.
Yeah. Yeah. I know everybody's glad to help.
Yeah. Matt's got it right. Beekeepers helping beekeepers.
Mm-hmm.
There's something special about beekeepers. I don't know what it is. There's a connection there. You can get two beekeepers together and they can talk for hours. You get Tom and Greg together, they can talk for days, so there's a connection there that is just crazy. It's like that person already for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, it's like what I said about Nobby after last year. You've got thousands of friends, you just haven't met them yet.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Kai's right there. You can't really track the climate each year. Everything's different. The honey from one year will taste different from the next year.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So,
yep. Definitely.
Well, folks, it looks like my battery is about to die on my computer. So we'll call it a night there, and I'll try to go find the plug for this thing. And we will see you guys next Thursday at the same time. And we want to say God bless, and we'll see you next time.
Y'all take care. See you later.